an Islamic bank or an Islamic window, at least they'll be doing the transaction in conformity with Sharia. So they will not be doing anything wrong from a perspective of relationship between us and God. So I think वो बहुत बड़ा, it's a major dimension which we need to think in our mind is that, you know, we have to be a commercial organization. It's not a charitable organization. It's not a, so should feel good in themselves that, you know, they are actually working for halal risk. One other thing which I keep talking to our own team, we've got mashallah 14,000 people working now. When we started commercial banking in 2002, we only had 30, which was built over the previous 3 years. But all these people who have joined us, they've not joined us only because of leaving riba banking and joining Islamic banking. They've joined us maybe because it was convenient for them, it was a good opportunity, they wanted to be a branch manager, they wanted to be a risk manager, and an option was available at Mizan Bank and they got a job. But once they join an Islamic bank, I think, you know, their learning curve has to be fast, and then they should really feel glued on that, you know, now God has given us the opportunity. That opportunity is not being given to zillions of people. So now we have to learn this business, learn what is right and what is wrong of this, and then stick with it. So even I was talking to our brand new graduates who joined 1 week ago, all these, you know, young 19, 18, 20 years old students. Their first session I was there, so I took it. So I told them that, you know, you can move into another Islamic bank, but if you really move to a conventional bank, I would feel hurt, because then it means that we have not done our job of telling you what is wrong in a riba based system. तो ये जो opportunity मिली है हमें, इसको use करें. I think it's for our overall good. And I think in forums like this, we generally don't talk too much about the religious side of it, but I feel that Islamic banking is a combination of Islam and banking. The two put in blender, and like a milkshake, you turn the switch on, and once it's done, then you know you can't differentiate between Islam and banking, so it's a combination of that. So our own way of life, our own personalities have to be in conformity with Sharia as well. So if you're tangent to that, we would be not doing it properly. So I think अपनी personalities को भी change करना उस लिहाज से, so this is an opportunity where we can improve ourselves as well, improve for the better. So I think with that I'll pass on to you. Ansari sir?
Should we stop? Or? No, I think he's joining shortly. The governor has joined and the finance minister is joining.
He's not joined. Who? He has not joined. He's joining shortly.
Murtaza Sayyed has joined. We can request him. Okay. I think probably we'll waiting for the finance minister, then he will start. So thank you, thank you, Irfan Siddiqui Sahab. I will request Mufti Irshad Ahmad Jah Sahab to please join us on stage. Mufti Sahab is the Chairman Sharia Supervisory Board, State Bank. Please. I think we can request State Bank Governor for his address. Sir, I think we can. I would like to welcome Dr. Murtaza Sayyed, the Acting Governor, State Bank of Pakistan, to the conference. He has joined us virtually. Dr. Saab, you can hear us?
Ji, I can hear you, Ji. I hope you can hear me as well.
Ji, and also I'd like to welcome Dr. Miftah Ismail, Finance Minister of Pakistan. Dr. Miftah, welcome to the conference, World Islamic Finance Forum. So without,
Thank you.
we'll hold our panel discussion here, and I will ask our Dr. Rizwan to invite Finance Minister.
Mr. Ismail Saab, thank you very much for joining us for the concluding session. I know that you are extremely busy, but I'm grateful that you were able to find time to come and join us. This is a World Forum which was postponed in 2020, and we are now holding this in 2022. The other two forums were also inaugurated by the then finance ministers. We have 55 foreign delegates from all over the world who have participated physically in this conference, and they have made some very useful contribution for the promotion of Islamic finance. And we would very much like to hear you and the governor as to what your views are as to the future direction which we in the Islamic finance industry should follow. So thank you very much, and on to you.
Thank you, Dr. Saab. Thank you so very much for inviting me. I apologize, first of all, for not being able to come yesterday morning. I was called at an urgent meeting at the Prime Minister's office, so I was not able to come. So my apologies for that. And once again, let me express my gratitude to you and to the IBA CEIF Center for not just inviting me, but more importantly, for holding this World Economic Finance seminar and talk about the development of Islamic finance for the global prosperity. I would confess right off the bat that I can see some very eminent people sitting on the dais, and that I really do not know enough about Islamic finance or Islamic economics to talk very knowledgeably about this. But I do know that there are some wonderful people in Pakistan, experts both in Islamic Sharia knowledge, fiqh, and also in economics and finance and banking, and who guide Pakistan's effort towards going to Islamic banking. As you know, sir, recently the Federal Shariat Court has ruled that all banking should convert in Pakistan to Islamic banking, and the Honorable Court has given 5 years for this conversion. Though perhaps this 5 years is too ambitious a time frame, and perhaps it will require a little longer. But nonetheless, I think that start has to be made, and I think that there is a effort to convert 35% banking to Islamic banking, I think by next year or so. So I think that we are working in the right direction. Our speed may be slower than perhaps is warranted, or maybe much slower than is warranted, but I think that Pakistan as a country is moving towards full implementation of Islamic finance in our banking system and riba-free banking. One of the things that I did when I was finance minister last time in 2017-18 was to visit a lot of madaris who train students who become experts in Islamic finance. And one of the things I encouraged them was to ensure that they provide graduates who understand economics, finance, and banking, and as well as Islamic fiqh, so that they can become guideposts for the rest of us in how we navigate this difficult and challenging issue, and then go towards a more Sharia-compliant banking and finance system. I know that many of these institutions are working very hard to provide very good graduates who are muftis, who are also experts in economics. Uh, and I know that many banks have done very well by employing these graduates. And for my part, I would say this, that whereas right now the government paper cost me, I think, 14.5%. When we did Sukuk, the numbers came in at 12.5, 13%. So going the Islamic way and selling Islamic paper was not just full of barakat, but also save 2% to the government treasury. So, I mean, and it allows, the Islamic finance allows a lot of Muslims around the world to participate in banking and to participate in purchase of government auctions, papers, etc. And that is something that we have ignored to date. That there are many people who will do banking only if it's riba free, who will do banking only if it's Sharia compatible and Sharia compliant. And when we go away from Islamic banking, when we just do conventional banking, we ignore a large segment of the population, Islamic population, Muslim population around the world, including in Pakistan. And so it is very important that that we cater to the needs of these Muslims who do not wish to have anything to do with conventional banking. And Sharia banking allows us to do that, so that's really a useful thing. There is in the topic given to me, we talked about the development of Islamic finance for global prosperity. So I want to speak 1 minute about the prosperity part. When you include all the people who are not banked, all the people who will not do banking, either because they are not well off enough, or they, for religious reasons or religious principles, they do not engage in banking, then you obviously leave out a large chunk of population, and therefore you sacrifice prosperity. So for us to have inclusive growth means that we have to allow people to do non-interest banking. And therefore, this step by the Sharia court, I think, is a step in the right direction. And I think there is nothing to fear for Pakistani investors. Within the Sharia court ruling, for instance, they have actually said that there will be exemptions for any bond or any paper that we've issued, including 30-year paper, based on conventional interest methods. That there is nothing in Islam that says that you need to renege on your sovereign commitments, and that the Sharia court has taken a very enlightened view, and Islam, I think, provides a very enlightened view of how to convert this. So it will be a gradual evolutionary conversion to Islamic banking, inshallah, and it will happen. And I think that is going to bring greater prosperity to Pakistan, I have no doubt in my mind. And I think that it will encourage more and more people to become part of the modern economy, utilizing both Islamic banking instruments and also Islamic takaful instruments. And that's also very important, that a lot of Muslims do not buy insurance because of their religious reasons, and takaful also offers them an alternate. So I'm very happy that we are going to move towards that in due course, and I'm very happy that IBA is also producing scholars who know how to deal with this. I'm glad that there are certain very eminent seminaries in madaris in Pakistan, including in Karachi, the Darul Uloom Karachi, Jamiatul Rashid, others who are producing very good scholars and muftis who can guide banks towards Islamic economics. And most importantly and finally, I want to say that I'm grateful to all the banks. Uh, Banks such as Mizan Bank, whose president is sitting there, who are fully Islamic banks, but other banks also, who are not really now resisting Islamic banking and who are going towards Islamic banking. And unless and until we have support from all the banks and all the stakeholders, obviously we can't move towards that. So I'm grateful to all the stakeholders who are actually very happy and willing to move towards Islamic banking. Thank you so much, Dr. Saab, once again, and thank you all of you for giving me a chance to talk to you. Thank you, sirs and madams.
Thank you very much for your very illuminating thoughts and also setting the direction for the conversion from the current mix between Islamic and conventional banking towards a fully fledged Islamic banking system in Pakistan. So we appreciate and we would very much like the industry to work with the government and the central bank in order to lay down the roadmap so that we can achieve the target which has been given to us. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate your presence here.
Miftah Sahab, because you mentioned my name as well, if I may take the liberty of just saying that during sessions, tea sessions and whatever, people were looking forward to your remarks on the Sharia court judgment. And there were some talks that maybe because there's no clarity right now, so maybe you will not talk about it. But really, it's so good to hear a very clear vision from the finance minister. And I think, in all fairness, this two-day conference, what we call it, we've got our time's worth by really this kind of a positive remark by the finance minister. So really, we thank you so much. And we pray to Allah कि भाई आप लोगों को हिम्मत भी दें इसकी, and inshallah ta'ala we go in this direction. Maybe taking baby steps, but go in that direction. Thank you so much.
We Murtaza Sayyed, who would be speaking to us about his thoughts. Thank you very much, Murtaza Sayyed Saab, for joining us. And we look forward to your views. We have, as you have already heard, participants not only from Pakistan, but we have 55 delegates from the foreign countries. So Pakistan plays a very pivotal role in the global spread of Islamic finance. So the role of the central bank is equally critical as is of the Ministry of Finance. So we look forward to your remarks. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ishad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Let me begin in the name of the merciful Lord of all mankind, all of creation and of all the worlds. Dr. Miftah Ismail Saab, Federal Minister for Finance and Revenue, Dr. Ishad Hussain, Chairman, Center of Excellence in Islamic Finance, respected Sharia scholars, presidents and CEOs of Islamic banking institutions, distinguished speakers, foreign delegates, ladies and gentlemen, Assalamu alaikum. First of all, Dr. Ishad, please accept my apologies for not being able to be there in person. I had planned to be there, but unfortunately I have been put on hold on standby for a high-level meeting in Islamabad, which will require me to be here in the State Bank. Let me say that it is truly a great pleasure for me to address the concluding session of the third World Islamic Finance Forum 2022. I would like to extend my appreciation to the organizers, IBA CIF, for organizing the event on one of the most crucial and topical themes in finance today. Islamic finance is widely recognized as one of the fastest growing segments of global finance. And the central theme of this forum underscores a critical global shift that is revamping financial services and its likely role in the economy. As we all know, the Islamic economic system focuses on providing decent and prosperous lives to all human beings and ensuring that everyone has a minimum level of welfare. The inherent characteristics of Islamic finance are aligned with sustainable development and prosperity. Without any doubt, the Islamic finances industry's future is indivisibly dependent on the ability to keep pace with the latest global developments and align its strategies accordingly. In my remarks today, I would like to cover three aspects. First of all, I shall say a few words about what my colleagues have told me about the proceedings in this very August forum over the last 2 days. And then I would like to talk about two things: digitization as well as ESG investing. These are two trends that are occurring in front of us, and I think to which Islamic banking and Islamic finance more generally will have a very critical role in advancing. I will talk about those three things. So let me first begin with the discussions that have taken place in the last 2 days. My colleagues have briefed me about the enlightening and informative panel discussions that have taken place over the last 2 days on a broad range of topics. I understand that 14 sessions were held, featuring 70 renowned speakers and subject matter experts from all over the world. Moreover, I have been told that 12 research papers and case studies were presented on different subjects of emerging trends in Islamic finance. I am confident that this discourse will not only help to identify current challenges, but also provide direction to the Islamic finance industry to be able to attain the next level in its already impressive journey of growth. Ladies and gentlemen, I noted with interest that one of the themes of this year's conference was Islamic fintech. This brings me to the second point that I want to cover out of three. Islamic fintech is exactly in line with the State Bank's vision of digitalization and financial inclusion. Fintech is the new revolution in the finance industry, and the technological sophistication of financial institutions has become increasingly important as a strategic way forward. According to the Global Islamic Fintech Report 2021, the Islamic fintech market size for OIC countries stands at $49 billion in transaction volume. Now, today, this only represents about 0.7% of the global figure, but it is projected to grow at 21% to $128 billion by 2025. With roughly more than 1,500 Islamic financial institutions operating in more than 80 countries around the world, the prospects of Islamic fintech and its role in furthering the objectives of sustainability and responsible financing objectives look very promising. If we look at the progress of fintech globally, we see that artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain, and other advanced technologies have slowly found space in the banking world. Relentless technological innovations are incessantly shifting customers' behavior, and they expect even speedier and custom-made transactions and services. Based on this proposition, businesses are renovating their processes, products, and services to entice and retain customers. Fintech can play an extremely important role in promoting Sharia-compliant products and services by compressing the transactions chain and ensuring rapid processing. Ladies and gentlemen, with fast digitalization happening in the financial landscape, Islamic banking institutions need to embrace digital transformation wholeheartedly. The Islamic banking industry also requires a radical departure from its traditional model and move to a more collaborative or competition-induced innovative ways of service delivery that align with the new and higher expectations of today's tech-savvy customers who place a high premium on transparency, efficiency, and convenience. I also believe that digital transformation is crucial for the Islamic banking industry to sustain its growth momentum by broadening its current outreach, exploring new horizons, identifying untapped potential, and unlocking new opportunities. Further, Islamic banking institutions are generally medium-sized, and digital transformation and partnership with fintech companies may help them to bring operational efficiency and competitiveness and to expand their outreach in rural areas through digital means. The proliferation of innovative digital financial products and processes increases the role of Sharia supervisory boards to address matters arising from product design in a manner that permits a discerning, end-to-end Sharia compliance based on Islamic jurisprudence. I'm happy to tell you that the State Bank of Pakistan has taken a number of regulatory initiatives recently, including the issuance of electronic money institution regulations, introduction of the Roshan digital accounts for overseas Pakistanis, launch of RAS, Pakistan's first instant payment system, the issuance of customer digital onboarding, and Asan mobile accounts, where anyone with a mobile phone can open a bank account. The State Bank of Pakistan has also recently issued a digital banking licensing framework that provides flexible requirements to set up digital banks in Pakistan, including full-fledged Islamic banks. Ladies and gentlemen, let me now come to my third and final point. As we are all aware, in the aftermath of the global financial crisis of 2008-2009, it has been recognized that the financial system needs to be sound and stable and based on ethical, sustainable, and responsible principles. Further, the global emerging financing trends put forward new prospects for expansion, focusing on climate, social, and responsible dimensions that can bridge sustainable development gaps and address financial inclusion challenges. In this context, today there is an increasing role of ESG investing. The growing interest in ESG globally creates an interesting potential for the Islamic finance industry. In particular, I believe that the financial sector can serve as a conduit towards equitable access to opportunities. Therefore, an inclusive financial system can help produce immense social value in society and lead to improved gender parity. In Pakistan, Islamic finance has the potential to contribute to inclusive economic growth by increasing access to formal financial services to underserved sectors like SMEs, agriculture, low-cost housing, and microfinance. The social and economic impact of Sharia-based financing in the housing sector can be ascertained from the fact that the Islamic banking industry dominates the market with nearly 48% share in the overall banking industry's outstanding low-cost housing finance portfolio. However, most Islamic banking institutions' financing exposure towards other priority sectors like SMEs and agriculture is still very low compared to their conventional counterparts. Against this backdrop, I believe that the banking sector in Pakistan, especially Islamic banking, has immense potential for growth through diversification into the underserved areas of the country. I would like to share with you that the State Bank launched the Pakistan chapter of the Global Islamic Finance and UN SDGs Task Force in November 2020. The working group consisted of representatives from different banks, UK Islamic Finance Council, and the State Bank. One of the key objectives of the working group was to create a country-level report to understand the current state of engagement and awareness of sustainable finance, along with assessing the need for capacity building. The report, entitled SDGs and Sustainability Report, Pakistan Banking Sector Perspective, was launched in March 2022. This report underlines some significant issues and challenges and provides a concrete action plan which may help transform the banking industry's focus towards sustainable finance. I believe that the Islamic banking industry of Pakistan should take advantage and look beyond traditional business models to align their products and services with SDG norms and keep pace with global trends. Ladies and gentlemen, the State Bank also recognizes that promoting equal opportunities for women and men for accessing and pursuing financial and professional endeavors is critical for sustainable and inclusive economic growth. We believe that improved gender parity in financial and economic opportunities can enhance socio-economic development outcomes for present as well as future generations. Being cognizant of the importance of women's financial inclusion, the State Bank issued a landmark Banking on Equality policy last year. The policy covers a comprehensive set of actions for financial institutions to direct their strategic focus towards women's financial inclusion at the highest levels, accompanied by enforceable targets for women-centric products and services, outreach, and gender diversity. I expect that the Islamic financial industry will come forward and take the lead in achieving inclusive shared prosperity. In order to integrate the entire Islamic finance ecosystem and achieve sustainable development goals, there is a need to focus on the basic principles of the Islamic financial system and its overarching values and objectives. Further, apart from technical knowledge, I also believe that human skills and behaviors such as critical thinking, problem solving, creativity, innovation, teamwork, resilience, and agility are much needed attributes of Islamic finance professionals. Ladies and gentlemen, let me end by taking you through some of the key financial figures of the Islamic banking industry in Pakistan. As many of you know, the Islamic banking industry has shown impressive growth since its relaunch in 2002 in Pakistan. Today, it has become a systemically important component of the country's banking system by acquiring a market share of almost 20% in both assets and deposits of the overall banking industry. I would also like to share that the compound annual growth rate of the Islamic banking industry's assets and deposits was as high as 25 and 22% respectively during the last 5 years. While in absolute amounts, the assets and deposits stood at 5.9 trillion rupees and 4.2 trillion rupees at end March 2022. During calendar year 2021, the assets and deposits of the Islamic banking industry witnessed a phenomenal year-on-year growth of 31% and 24% respectively, which was the highest ever increase in the volume of assets and deposits of the Islamic banking industry in Pakistan in 1 year. As you are all aware, the State Bank's third strategic plan on Islamic banking envisages an overall target of 30% market share to be achieved by 2025. This strategic plan is a living document, and therefore the State Bank is committed to closely working with Sharia scholars and the banking industry to review the headline targets of the strategic plan. The State Bank is open to any out-of-the-box solutions that may promote Islamic banking in the country on a fast-track basis, which can only be achieved through mutual understanding and collaboration of all the relevant stakeholders. Moreover, during the last 2 days of deliberations in this forum on various subjects to promote Islamic banking, one critical issue that has emerged was the irregular issuance of sukuk. In this respect, I will assure you that the State Bank will continue to work with all stakeholders to ensure regular availability of sukuk. And towards this end, I am pleased to announce that today, the State Bank is constituting a high-level working group comprising of senior executives from the State Bank, the SECP, the Ministry of Finance, the Pakistan Bankers Association, Sharia scholars, and heads of the 3 centers of excellence in Islamic finance. This working group will develop clear timelines and come up with practical solutions on sukuk structures, especially asset-light sukuk structures. In closing, ladies and gentlemen, let me once again thank Dr. Ishrat for his very kind invitation to me and for allowing me to share some views in this August gathering. I would also like to thank IBA for arranging this auspicious forum, and I hope that the last 2 days of extensive discussion on the development of Islamic finance ecosystem for global prosperity will prove to be a significant milestone in strengthening the Islamic financial system in our country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Governor Saab, for your very comprehensive survey of the entire landscape and also giving your views on the two topics which have been discussed in this forum. One is the digitalization and the other is ESG, because after all, ESG is an impact, and so is Islamic finance, that it has an impact on the society. And so they are both coterminous as far as the purpose is concerned. And I'm very happy that you have constituted a working group in order to sort out some of the difficulties and the problems in the issuance of sukuk. I hope that just like you have a calendar for PIBs, you would have a calendar which is known to the entire stakeholders about the sukuk, and the structure will be of the nature which you have already been working with, because as the Minister of Finance pointed out, the relative cost to the government of a sukuk is lower than that of a conventional bond. So I think this is a good move, and we should be able to accelerate the process of the issuance of sukuk. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ishrat, and thank you, Dr. Murtaza Sayed, State Bank Governor, and thank you, Finance Minister, Dr. Miftah Ismail. And I think this was a very, useful conclusion for our conference, that we not only got the support from the government of Pakistan for the conversion of the economy to Islamic basis, and we got the support from the central bank, and also the practical steps that this, as a result of this conference, one working group was formed by the central bank. And another, there was a parallel session as part of the takeaway of this conference. One is on fintech, one is on the governance and the regulation side, and also we are also working with the industry to develop new solutions. So inshallah, this conference will lead to practical steps, practical implementations that will help the industry to grow. So we'll continue my discussion. Brother Umar Mustafa, your brief takeaways from this conference and concluding remarks.
Thank you very much, Brother Ahmed. Assalamu alaikum, everybody, again. Indeed, there are a lot of learning points in this conference, and some of them actually echoed what I thought, and actually in the first session today, actually we had a lot of thought process about the vision. There is one thing only I would like to touch upon right now. Again, a lot of things have been talked about that in a different manner. I would talk about that thing in a different manner right now. We talk about out of the box thinking for achieving something which is generally unachievable. So right now, I would not ask you to think out of the box. I would ask you to think out of the bank and out of the banking system, because banking system is one of the most important parts for the Islamic finance ecosystem, and we are talking about the ecosystem right now. In that ecosystem, banking has to play its role, and which is most important role. Nobody is denying that. But the way finance is done and will be done is actually two different things. I can tell you that trends are coming up. In Pakistan, again, because of high discount rates, high inflation, still you can see the banking revenues are mostly coming from the spread. But in most parts of the world, because interest rates are low, you can see the banking system is earning more from the services. Banks are losing their business to the open banking. Banks are losing their business to crowdfunding. Banks are losing their business to embedded finance. You will find lot of service providers on the telecommunication side who are taking away the traditional banking business, including services earlier, but now they are even taking away the financial part. So I would like to mention that this is the time for us as Islamic finance industry to think out of the bank. There is Islamic crowdfunding. there is open banking, there are a lot of things that need to be done on the Islamic capital markets. We need to have retail sukuk. We need to have retail capital market instruments. We need to have access to Islamic capital markets in a proper way. We need to have those fintech solutions that are coming up properly regulated, properly encouraged to come, and we need to help them grow. So this is my message right now, that we need to start thinking in a way different from what we have been doing. Alhamdulillah, we have achieved we have reached this far. Alhamdulillah, we are reaching 20% on the banking side. We hope that with the things that very positive things that we have heard from the top positions, inshallah, we hope that this will grow. But what we need to work on now is coming up with newer products, newer initiatives, newer things to support the existing Islamic banking, and to come up with the solutions that can cater to the needs of the masses even outside of the banking system. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Alhamdulillah, praise to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that well, all of us are here today. I feel very thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Very, you know, it is good that to have the opportunity to address all of you today, and then to be together with our eminent scholars and respected leaders of Islamic finance industry. It happened that I'm the only lady here, Alhamdulillah. So definitely I will be talking about lady and afterward, okay? So my key powerful points, okay, I will put it very on 3 points. Number one is that when we talk about Islamic finance ecosystem that we are taking from the theme of our distinguished conference, is that definitely we cannot compromise, or we cannot forget about human capital and talent development. So without people, then I would say there's no Islamic finance. So we need to be really focused, do something good, you know, in terms of enhancing our human capital as well as talent. So talent need to be there, need to be nourished. We need to prepare for this. And definitely we need to be seriously talking about succession plan, because everywhere in the world in Islamic finance, through my research, through my observation, I can see there's a big gap between the key leaders, which are prominent, and the young generation. Are we ready? Are our generation, young generation, ready to take up the leadership on Islamic finance? So this is something that need to be seriously to be put in our agenda. And what relates to that human capital and talent development to me is education. So Islamic finance education need to be similarly put into as one of the main agenda in our Islamic finance development. We cannot compromise education. And then we are not talking about education, the formal education like bachelor degrees and whatnot, but the education starts from home. We agree on that. One of the panelists talking about, well, education starts from home. We cannot deny that. So the question simply that I put is that, are we ready with the curriculum for mothers to teach their children on what is Islamic finance, what is riba, what is good, what is not? This is something that we need to be looking at as well. Ready, I mean that we need to be ready. So someone need to be taking it up, not only talking about formal education at bachelor, postgraduate, PhD level, but other than that, you know, start from day one when the children is born, for example. We need to prepare for this. So seriously, I don't see much attention have been given on this. It's definitely leave to individuals who are aware, then they take their own initiative. So we need to be putting this again as one of the very important agenda. we want to continue Islamic finance to be in the hands of us, Muslim, non-Muslim, it doesn't matter, but we need to have the control, and then that is truly through the education. Good education means that we must have the good educator. So continuous lifelong learning is something that...
Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. This is good news, fantastic news. I think we need to understand, people speak about Islamic economics and Islamic finance. So we need to define what constitutes Islamic finance and Islamic economics. We also need to study the experiments of other countries that made that decision. And these two particular countries I speak about are Sudan and Iran. And what happened? And Malaysia is another example, and I was very close to the Malaysian experiment. And it was done in a stepwise approach. It started with the central bank, where the central bank had two books. One book for the Islamic bank.
From mostly all of the stakeholders.
In the presence of Sharia scholars, the Sharia Advisor Forum has been launched from the platform of IBA CIF, I think, which was a great way forward. There's also a recommendation for a Pakistan Association of Islamic Banks. I think that's something also which perhaps there can be more discussion and how one is going to work at it. I would like to thank the State Bank of Pakistan, the Finance Minister Miftah Ismail Saab, SECP, and all our donors, many of whom are still here, who've been present for the 2 days, to thank them. I want to end with something that Dr. Ishrat Hussain said yesterday. And it's a very provocative thought, and I think that's perhaps a good way to end and to start thinking about, and to add to what he said just now, because when he said this yesterday, I've been thinking about it since yesterday, and I even mentioned it to him. He said there's every evidence, and lots of evidence, that Islamic finance is growing. He says you look at any numbers in any country, even in countries where Islam is not as established as it is in our countries, you'll find institutions, instruments of Islamic finance. He said this is a global sign, and a lot of countries are hedging against the capitalist system, after the 2008 crash. But Dr. Ishrat Hussain said something very, very provocative, and I wonder if there was any discussion on that. He said, but what about our values? That on the one hand, Islamic finance is growing. Are our Islamic values growing at the same speed? Are they spreading in society at the same level? So it's, finance has its own charm. It's money, it's profit, it's what comes back to us when we invest in it carefully, how we share our wealth through zakat and other instruments. But I think a point that I would like us to think about as well, and end with that, is that while Islamic finance is doing well, it has a great future, we should also reflect on what's happening in our societies, and how can Islamic values, how can Islamic social values and be passed on, as I think we just said, about how can it be passed on to the next generation. I think people are afraid that there'll be very few people left here in 20 years. I assure you that many of you will still be here in 20 years, inshallah. But I think that we need to think about the values that we're leaving over the last 20 years, over the last many years, and what we bring to the future. Thank you very much.
IBP qualification, we have a banking qualification. Now this is a Islamic finance qualification for practitioners, and you can qualify for level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. And another effort that we are also doing is we are launching Islamic FinTech series 1.0. This is an effort by IBA CIF along with SECP Pakistan, Securities and Exchange Commission Pakistan, because this is another area that the governor highlight. We all understand the importance of FinTech. So this is a webinar online series with SECP, and we will be probably doing around 10 sessions on FinTech, different topics, and inshallah this will also add value for the participant, for the industry. And now this another very important that have won the award. I will start from the third prize. The paper that won the award was The Nexus of Sustainability Practices and Financial Performance, a Perspective of Asian Islamic Banks. And I will request the